videos.
So my special topic project, I did marine mammals in captivity, and I basically focused on orcas at SeaWorld. They have several different locations. They have some in Florida, Texas, and California, specifically in Orlando, San Diego, and San Antonio. How they capture their orcas, they use aircraft, speedboats, and spotters, and they kind of throw over a dozen bombs in the water at a time to herd all of these massive animals. And the orcas are aware of what's going to happen next, so the adults without the young, they kind of go one way, while the mothers with all the babies go the other. And so the ones that don't have any babies, they try to take the speedboats and all of the spotters kind of away from the young ones, because that's basically what SeaWorld wants. But they can hold their breath for a really long time underwater, obviously because they live underwater, but the mothers and the babies, they try to stay under as long as they possibly can, but once they come up for that breath, all of the aircrafts, they see actually, hey, the young ones are over here. So then they make all of the speedboats and everything leave the ones that were kind of leading off the beaten path and go to the babies. And then they put up a huge net in a circle, and they pick the young ones that they want. They would drop the net so the ones that they didn't want could leave, but none of the other whales stayed, because whales do travel in pods. They're very big on family and staying together, so they basically stayed the entire time while the young ones are getting taken from them. For the babies that died during the process, they were open and filled with rocks, and then they had an anchor tied to their tail so that they would sink. And if that kind of doesn't make you think, hey, this probably isn't legal, so they didn't want any evidence to show that they were doing this. And then finally, the state of Washington got tired of it, so they filed a court order that said SeaWorld by name would no longer be allowed to hunt or capture whales off of their in the waters. Orcas are very friendly and like companions. They have a lifespan similar to humans. Females live about 100 years or longer, while males live about 50 to 60. They stay in pods and live in big families. The adult offspring never really leaves the mother's side. And each community has a different set of behaviors and vocalization that don't overlap with others. So if you have a pod of whales that were living off the coast of Alaska, they're not going to communicate the same that would off the coast of Norway. So
Different languages.
yeah. So they're also very intelligent and aware animals. They have a part of the brain that humans do not. It's a part that extends out right adjacent to their limbic system, and that is the system that processes emotion. These animals have highly elaborate emotional lives, and to this day there has been no record of any killer whale doing any harm to any human or killing any human out in the wild.
Really? At all?
At all.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure I've heard of it.
I don't think that's true.
Alright, whatever.
Have you seen any videos of people kayaking and the orcas come up right next to
Yeah.
them and they just keep cruising, they leave them alone?
I'd be afraid of it if
Lot
I was
more
a
of
seal
that.
and the whole family would try to kill me.
Right, if you were a seal.
No, I would be afraid they would think, you ever
Oh,
seen them
think
try
you're
to
a
kill a seal like
Like
on
an
an iceberg?
iceberg?
Oh my god, worst fear.
I'm sure it's
It
SeaWorld.
all depends. I didn't get an exact number, but I think they took 8, somewhere around there, I'm guessing. Not too many, because they are very large animals and it costs a lot of money to fly them to and from. But one of the famous ones that I like to focus on is Tilikum. He was captured in 1983 in the North Atlantic. At the age of 2 years old, he was already 11.5 feet long, and he started at Sealand, which was this really dingy, kind of off-brand SeaWorld that was trying to make a come up the same time SeaWorld was. But it was basically, they would be stored in a module along with 2 other female orcas, and like I said, they would just pluck them out of random pods. So the 2 female orcas had no idea what Tilikum was saying, because they all basically speak their own language. And the place that they would be stored throughout the night was 20 feet across to 30 feet deep. And at the age of 4, Tilikum was 16 feet long and already weighed 4,000 pounds. And being stored in such a small place led to psychosis. There wasn't any lights in there. It was just this 2x4 metal thing with 2 other 1,000-pound animals. He ended up killing the trainer there, which led to Sealand closing. And then he was sold to SeaWorld and found a new home in Orlando, Florida. And how SeaWorld is hurting the animals, when Tilikum first arrived, he was constantly attacked and would have teeth marks from head to toe all over his body. You can kind of see some right there. It's kind of hard, but that's where the animals wouldn't get along, and they were very territorial. Who's this new guy? So they didn't really get along very well. And in the wild, males normally stay at the perimeter of the pods, where here they're basically squeezed into the small bathtub. It's hard to stay at the perimeter because you're in such a confined area. And Tillicum was kept isolated for his own protection because the other orcas were mean and hostile towards him, which that also plays a role in his psychosis, like constantly being alone. They love to be in families, they're very like emotional, they like to be with others, so just being, like this is what they would store him in, and he's like 6,000 pounds. So it's basically like you living in your bathtub for your entire life. And it had been reported several times that Tillicum has lunched at trainers before, but SeaWorld did nothing about it. And a lot of this information I got from Blackfish, and in that movie it also explains how a lot of the previous trainers did not know that he lunged at trainers, or basically anything that happened at Sealand before where he did kill that trainer. They didn't know anything about it. SeaWorld did not inform them, but they still continued to let them go in the water with him and play with him, not knowing that he could possibly kill them. How they're hurting the animals, they separated a mother and, that's supposed to say in her calf, only a few years after birth. This caused the mother to stay in the corner of the tank for days, not moving, just shaking and screeching. And she was also using vocals that had never been heard or recorded.